In 1998, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were Major League Baseball players who were both actively chasing the home run title. During that 1998 season, the ratings of baseball games skyrocketed. When their two teams played each other, they set a ratings record in baseball that wouldn't be broken for almost 15 years. However, after the season, both of them tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, or PEDs. Now, why should we let them live that down? They both had great seasons. Both McGwire and Sosa escalated the game of baseball that year, and they are prime examples as to why PEDs should be allowed in baseball and other professional sports. The advantages far outweigh the disadvantages. My reasoning is threefold. PEDs make players play better, they help aid injuries and recovery, and there's a lack of negative evidence against them. Now on to my first point of how PEDs make players play better. Now the first athlete that comes to my mind when I think of performance-enhancing drugs is Lance Armstrong. Now, what Lance Armstrong did was amazing. He won 7 Tour de France titles from 1999 to 2005. He also had cancer and even won Tour de France titles after that. Now, why he got his title stripped? Because he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. But could you imagine if everyone were perhaps on those performance-enhancing drugs? It would have been crazy. The level of play would have been escalated so high. Now, an example where a lot of competitors were on performance-enhancing drugs goes to the 1998 Olympic 100-meter dash. Hall and Moore reported that 6 of the athletes in the 100-meter dash in the 1998 Olympics were all stripped of whatever places they got because they tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. They also said in that article that up to that point, that was the most watched Olympic event. The winner, Ben Johnson, was among the 6 people to test positive. Now, obviously, the level of play is upped by performance-enhancing drugs, and through that race and Lance Armstrong's titles, you can see that the level of play is upped. But what a lot of people don't know is performance-enhancing drugs also aid in injury recovery, and that brings me to my second point. In the Journal of Applied Physiology in 2009, White, Valtgavis, Sato, Wilson, and Carson said that anabolic steroids help recovery after surgery. So when an athlete gets a potential season-ending or career-ending injury, anabolic steroids can help them. In the article, they talked about how a lot of things your body stops producing after surgery can be provided by anabolic steroids. And in another article by Dr. Christopher Mendiez, he said that human growth hormone, a form of performance-enhancing drugs, naturally repairs tendons. So how big is that? Something that your body produces aids tendons. So if you tear your ACL, this will help in your recovery. So overall, it takes an injury that could be season-ending or career-ending, and it makes that not as big of a deal, and you can be back on the field in no time. And my third and final point is that there's a huge lack of negative evidence against performance-enhancing drugs. In 2006, Hoffman and Radamus said in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine that medical issues with steroids are exaggerated. So a lot of these things that you see and you read about how steroids are bad for people, those are only in certain instances, and a lot of those effects are either documented very little or not documented at all. You cannot see them. They also said in that article that the risk of playing a sport far outweighs any risk that performance-enhancing drugs will bring to you. So if your argument for why performance-enhancing drugs shouldn't be allowed is because they're dangerous, well, the sports are far more dangerous than these drugs, so are you saying we shouldn't play the sports? And that's why I think that we should allow performance-enhancing drugs. So, overall, steroids aid athletes' performance, recovery, and studies show that effects are exaggerated and not that big at all. So if we want to see another great home run race between McGwire and Sosa, or we want to see Lance Armstrong win more Tour de France's, or you just want to see every single athlete on the field compete at that level, perform at a new pinnacle of sports never seen before, then I believe that PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, need to be legalized in the world of sports.